Greetings, MechWarriors. This is Blackhawk SC. So I wanted to talk about the Warhawk-B in this guide because I think the Warhawk-B is one of the more difficult variants of the Warhawk to build for. Now, I did buy a set of Warhawks recently, and I got the A, the C, and the B variants. The A and the Prime are the same, so I just chose the A for whatever reason. And there are only these 4 variants available in MWO right now. So before we go into the build, I want to talk about the Warhawks in general. So as I mentioned before, the A and the Prime have the same CT. It's distinguished by the fact that there's no hardpoint in the CT for the A and the Prime. The C has a energy hardpoint and the B has a missile hardpoint. So if we're going for either lasers or ballistics on the Warhawk, then the B does not really provide anything special for those two build styles. I would rather put something like that on the A or the C, and especially the C for its laser hardpoint. Now, for the B, we're left. If we wanted to build something unique, we're going to have to take into account that missile hardpoint in the CT. So it's going to be either LRMs or SRMs. So I'll talk about a few options I considered before going into this particular build. So let's first look at something like this, which can be considered a hybrid LRM laser build. So you can swap out the medium pulse lasers with something else, maybe large pulse lasers or a combination of large pulse lasers and regular medium lasers. So I did play this style for a little bit, and what I found was that if you either run into the problem of wasting your medium pulse lasers, or you give too much face time to the enemy. So suppose you're doing indirect fire with your LRMs, then that's a lot of firepower that you're wasting, like 5 medium pulse lasers, or however many large pulse and ER medium lasers that you're not actually putting into the battle. But once you actually start doing direct fire with the Warhawk-B, it's really a fragile assault. The hitboxes are not really very good. It's very difficult to shield, when it's under fire, because the arms. You can see from the geometry that the arms doesn't really cover the side torsos very much, and that's where all of your weapons are, especially on that right side. So, direct fire or indirect fire with LRMs has significant problems, and I ran this and I didn't really think it was a really good build for the Warhawk-B. Now, the one way that I think you can succeed with this build is if you only kind of fire off from the flanks. Then you can fire off your medium pulse lasers and have enough time for the LRMs to lock on and hit the target. So that can work, but it's very situational, and against better players, you're really not going to have that much time to start spreading damage and take return fire. So if we're not doing LRMs, then the only other options are streaks or regular SRMs. I wouldn't recommend streaks because that's more of a light hunter role, and assaults shouldn't really be doing that because they're not fast enough to catch up to lights that are running away. So leave that up to the Stormcrows and say like the Kit Foxes that can actually chase lights and put streaks into them. So if we're going with regular SRMs, then the maximum tonnage that we can fill up, or the maximum firepower that we can have with SRMs is 4 SRM-6 launchers. The problem comes with the fact that we're only using 66 tons out of the 85, and then the rest of the tonnage has to be filled up in 14 slots. So one way of using up the rest of the tonnage is by using a big ballistic, such as the Ultra AC-20. And in this setup, we're going to be going full Brawl pretty much. We're going to get in within that 270 meter range and then brawl their face out. right? But the problem with the Warhawk in the full Brawl situation is that it just doesn't have the hitboxes to spread damage very well. As soon as it loses that right torso, it only has the SRM6 left, and the torsos are very very big on the Warhawk, and you're gonna lose them very very quickly. So that's kind of the problem if you try to engage, within that close range. The final build that I came up with is this kind of hybrid brawl sort of build. Normally, I'm not a fan of mixing ranges, but because of the Warhawk-B's unique situation, and I think this actually works the best. Again, as in sort of fragile assault, you don't really want to get up close, and so with the lasers here, we can actually start engaging at the 400 to 500 meter range. And when the battle gets up close, you have the SRM6 to it's almost a backup, but in reality, it has quite a bit of firepower up close too. You're sort of using the SRM6s and the large pulse lasers together in conjunction, where the SRM6 will provide you with DPS, the large pulse lasers, if you have the heat capacity, can finish off certain components. When you're in the brawl range, and when you're actually in a full brawl situation, you're probably not going to be touching the medium lasers that much. So the reason why this works is because in the solo queue, at the beginning of most matches, you'll have a phase where teams are just kind of poking at each other, getting some trades off, and in that phase, at the 500 meter range, you have about as much firepower as something like a clan heavy. And so if you're trading with something lighter, or if you're trading with like an inner sphere mech at that range, usually you'll be winning these trades. Now, when the match gets closer, you want to stop playing like like a laser vomit build, and start playing more like a brawler. So your 4 SRM6s paired with the 2 large pulse lasers are going to give you pretty good DPS at that 270 meter range. When you're in that brawl, you do not want to be using that medium lasers. So you can notice we only put 4 tons of ammo on the SRM6s, which can seem kind of low to some people, but the reason why is because we really don't want to get into that brawl. We want to try to avoid that brawl unless we know that there's a significant chance that we're going to come out of it alive. So that's kind of the philosophy behind this hybrid brawl situation. It's going to be probably, I would say, 60 to 70% laser vomit, and then 40 to 30% actual brawling. So let's actually get into a gameplay video to see how we can play this. So one thing to note was playing this match before the Warhawk-B was mastered, so I didn't have room a module slot for the advanced seismic module. Advanced seismic in general is very very important for anything that wants to get into brawl range. So there are situations in this match where having advanced seismic would have been really helpful. So now we see that our assault lance is moving on the right side of the Charlie line. Ideally, they would be coming go through the middle of the Charlie line into the Theta area, the platform in the middle. This usually indicates that a lot of these guys, they're playing pretty cautiously, a little bit too cautiously. You want to try to get into the strong position over here, and we ideally have, all of our team, most of our team at least, getting into the strong position in Theta, in the middle of the platform. And because we don't have the assaults with us, we can't. I don't want to push up with the Warhawk by myself, and so here we were waiting for a few more mechs to show up before we come up. Warhawk, again, is a pretty fragile mech and can't really engage one-on-ones with too many kinds of mechs here. So as you can see right here, we're using the range of our lasers to get in these first pokes. That Arctic Cheetah over there is doing a pretty good job on our team. He's occupying that entire pocket of 4 mechs by himself, and you know, is doing a really good job. Look at those 4 mechs that's being occupied by our Arctic Cheetah, who's at the corner of C3, C2 right here. And this is allowing us to get in these good pokes because they're getting distracted by the Cheetah. We got off at least 4 alphas, I think, during that initial engagement. And Highlander is isolated here. We could put some shots into his back. He lost most of his weapons already. Again, we're staying at range for the most part and poking. We're just letting off some laser alphas and then cooling down. Now we know that most of the team has, the enemy team has moved to the D line over here. And again, I can try to get closer, but one thing is that some of the missile hardpoints are low mounted. So if I shoot off a bunch of missiles right here, like about half of them will miss because of the elevation. So now I'm getting a little bit closer. And just because I'm able to get closer because we know that we've killed a couple of mechs over there already, including that Atlas. Lots of mechs down there, lots of mechs. So we're putting down an airstrike at that corner because we see those red Doritos stacked up over there. We were able to get good hits on that strike. Okay, there's a mech far away here, so I'm gonna just make sure it doesn't bother us. There's a little blip that shows us there's a UAV up top. Again, right here, I know there's some mechs over at the D line, but I don't have advanced seismic. So we know now there's one here at least, and because it has an open CT, we're gonna take a chance and then go and try to finish it off. And here we're really starting to use the SRMs to get effect. I'm getting a little bit greedy here. I can run away, but I choose not to do that. And I died because I didn't twist fast enough. I should have just fired and then twisted away, but it's getting lazy. Whatever. So, did good damage. Contributed well to the team, so there you go. So this is how I would build and play the Warhawk-B. You may not decide to do this sort of build. You may be unfamiliar with it. You may not be comfortable with it. But I would give it a shot. And if you decide to do something else with it, just be aware that of the Warhawk's advantages and disadvantages. The advantage being it carries a good amount of firepower as a clan assault, but is fairly squishy because of the hitbox issues. The Warhawks in general, they're good mechs. They're not top tier mechs. And if you build and play them according to its strengths, I think you will be successful with it. Okay, so if you like the video, please hit the like button and then subscribe to my channel, and hope to see you next time.